Hi everybody. So welcome to Handmade Holiday 2022. Today we're going to do a felt ornament, and yes, I am going to do more of a recording in real time. I am going to speed up some of the stitching just to make it go faster, but I am going to kind of talk you through the process and all of that good stuff. We are going to be making this fun rainbow ornament. Kind of ignore all the pins I have sticking out of here. This is what we're going to make. It's very similar to the one I shared last year during a live. I will link to that in the description as well as at the end of the video. But there are a few key differences between last year's, which I'm going to pull it in and show you. So here is the one I did last year, and it is very similar. I just did a few different stitching things that I think are a little bit better for this year. And then I will show you the other difference. Last year I did these die cut letters, which I still really love, and I think this is a great option. I will link to these down below as well. But this year I used this pasta design date to just die cut straight out of the felt and then stitch the date in. It was a little quicker and easier. So kind of depending on what you're looking for, these are a fantastic option. I did have to add a little heart back here because you guys know how much I love adding the little hearts. Now I will say, and I think I'm going to show you this in my video today, I think it would be showier if I stitch these in colorful floss. So I am going to do that. I'm going to stitch each number in a colorful floss, and I'm still going to add my number. So it's going to look a little bit more like this. This was actually a kit that I put together for an in-person event we had in October. This one still needs a little stitching, and I'm going to finish that one on camera. This is actually Miss Carol's. So Carol, if you're watching, it's on its way to you as soon as I stitch this up. However, very similar. I've mixed and matched a lot of different dies. The only stitching die in this is this mitten die from Memory Box. There is a Memory Box sale going on. I think it's only through the 10th at Simon Says Stamp, so pick this up if you don't already have it. I will link to that down in the description below as well. But there are other mitten dies out there. I know Pasta Design has one, and you can just use other dies as well. You can make them into stitching dies. Like I made these dies from Fawn. So let me show you first. I'm going to move last year's out of the way since it's not exactly what we're making this year. And I'm going to show you first I'm going to show you the dies, then I'm going to show you all the pieces, and then we're going to start stitching. This is a great option if you like to make custom ornaments for gifts every year. You can use them as gift tags. I kind of use them as both. So this is my binder of stitching dies. We're just really going to go to the page I need. So this is the stitched mitten die from Memory Box. It is awesome. It has been out for several years. Let me pull it out and show it to you a little closer. You get the mitten cuff. There's a snowflake that you can die cut. I'm not using it today. And then there's some fun buttons, which are awesome. I'm using real buttons because I have a load of them. This is a great use. So that is why I go ahead and do that. These are magnet sheets from Fawn, kept in 8.5 by 11 sheet protectors in a binder. I will link to these down in the description below too, if you are looking for a great way. Now, I don't store all of my dies this way, but my stitching dies are all in this binder. So I've got some paper tray ink stitching dies, Pasta Design stitching dies, lots of pasta actually, more paper tray, pasta. Oh, here are the dates I wanted to show you. I'm not going to pull the whole sheet out. So you get 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So this would keep you for the next few years anyway. They're awesome. Oh, I have a Pink Fresh Alpha in here too, just because I needed a huge storage sheet. This is the Jeff Alpha. So there is something that's non-stitching in here. I forgot I put it in here because it was kind of hard to store. I don't have a ton of the sets like that. This is just simply a binder from, let me zoom out just a tiny bit for a minute. This is a binder from Target, but any binder will do. I have these from Target because I have these for lots of things. This one obviously says stitching dies. I have one for cross stitch patterns. I have one for sewing patterns. Or I have many for sewing patterns, but they're all organized. But this is my stitching die one so that I can just find it right off the shelf. And I know all of my stitching dies are in here, which makes it easy if I want to mix and match different stitching dies. So the mitten and the date I showed you. The other dies that are non-stitching dies we're going to use today. This is an old set from Fawn called Spring Showers. We're going to use the Sunshine from here. He's pretty delicate, which I'll show you here in a minute. There might be other Sunshines out there, or you could just use a round die if you don't have a sun. And then the Stitched Rainbow. I would really recommend a set like this where the rays come individual, the rainbow rays, because you're not wasting loads of felt if you want your rainbow in a certain order. So this is a great one. And I'm also going to use the clouds. So let me put the dies to the side and I'm going to show you all of the pieces I've pulled to stitch this. From our mitten, we need a front and a back. From the back piece, because we're going to stitch them together like this, we want to die cut our date. If you're not using that and you want to use the individual letters from, these are Fawn or whatever you have, maybe you have a big initial that you want to do, that would be cute too to customize. You want to die cut your date. So either way, there is this one. So we have a front and a back, and I'm going to put them like this for now. Then we have a cuff for the front and a cuff for the back. For our front, we have our Sunshine. We have our 5 rainbow rays. And then we have a couple of clouds. We have a heart. Oh, I forgot to pull this heart set. Hold on. I even saw it. This is an old set from Fawn. The hearts come from this. I love these hearts. These are my favorite hearts of all time. Of course, it's me. You know I need to have a heart. So we're going to have a heart for the front, and then we've got this little guy, which will be for the back. The last things we need before we get started, some sort of a hanger to make this into an ornament. This is just a little piece of Stampin' Up! Ribbon. I've had this ribbon forever. I thought the yellow looked really nice with the aqua, and then of course the yellow sun. And then just a couple buttons from your stash. No buttons, and you have this die cut some out of some felt. We're going to be using ours to adorn the little cuff of our mitten, just like that. The last thing, you're going to need some embroidery floss. I'm going to be using some DMC embroidery floss today. You could also use crochet thread. I do think I'm going to show you crochet thread for the back here, so that'll be an option. You could either do it like I did and just use embroidery floss. And I do think that I would probably do this in another color. Again, this was kitted up for everyone, so I thought it was easier to just make it one color. But I think I'm going to show you the option. I need to take those pins out of there. To do it in different colors. I think it'll be a little showier. Then you're going to need a needle. These are just some easy little needles or sewing needles that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. So they're not like cross stitch needles or anything, and they work really good. So that is what we need to get started. And we are going to start with the back of our ornament, and we are going to stitch everything in place. So let me grab the crochet thread and show that. So crochet thread is going to look like this. I pick mine up at Hobby Lobby. I got it many years ago. I haven't bought any recently. It comes in all kinds of colors. I have the whole rainbow. I tried to pick colors that I thought complemented the colors we're using here for the front. And I will tell you, maybe a different needle would be better. This is a little tricky to thread. So there's that. But I was persistent. I generally am just persistent. So I am going to knot my crochet thread, and I'm just winding around the tip, making a knot, and then pulling that knot down to the end. This still is probably not going to be super secure. We will see. And I am actually going to stamp. How about stitch? I think that this number 2 first. So I'm going to come up from the back and let's just see. You don't want to pull super hard. Oh, and that does lead me to, well, what else I want to talk about. I highly recommend 100% wool felt. If not for the big pieces, for the small ones for sure. They're awfully delicate. Any kind of blend felt is going to probably not be your best bet. It is going to maybe tear. Even sometimes 100% wool felt will tear with these delicate ones. So you definitely want something that's going to be a little bit stronger. I really only use 100% wool felt for almost everything I do. And my favorite manufacturers, this actually is not 100% the big piece. This is from Benzie Design. Benzie Design would be one of my very favorites. Tailored Expressions, of course, has great wool felt. And my other favorite that I order from is called the Felt Pod. And those are all great sources for felt if you like doing stitching. Pashta Design sells felt. I have a little bit from them that I'm getting ready to use. I'm having a crafty day with friends, so I'm going to be stitching up a bunch of the new stuff. I'm also going to be filming a video that has been requested. And I'm doing a simple back stitch, as you can see here, for my numbers. And I'm going fairly slow. If you have questions on stitching, please drop me a comment. Let me know what your question is. I am a stitcher. I cross stitch and quilt, so this isn't completely new to me. I am self-taught for quilting. Cross stitch is like my first crafty love. It's the first thing I think my mom ever taught me when I was very, very little. So I do have some stitching knowledge, I suppose I should say. This is not cross stitch though. And anyone can do it, and anyone can do cross stitch as well. In fact, if you're interested, I have a floss tube series and some stitch with me's where I kind of go over some stuff and just show you what I'm doing, because I am kind of an avid stitcher in my spare time. But I love felt projects. And this is a great time of year to do it. And really any time in the winter is a great time to do it. If you don't have time to stitch up some things this year, consider after the holidays, during the colder months, stitching. Stitching for next year, prepping for next year, making some fun projects. So there's the pink. I do think I'm going to like these in colors. This was a simple back stitch. So when I'm done, let's just run that underneath, and I'm just going to do a little knot. I'm going to go through that loop about twice, and I'm just going to pull it into a little knot. You just don't want to pull your fabric super, super tight because you don't want to rip through those holes. And we'll snip the end. Now, I don't care. This is not like cross stitch because I don't care that the back is kind of ick. It's going to be stuffed. See that stuffing in there? That's going to hide any icky on the back. So don't worry too much about that, especially if you're new. And you can see I'm not new, and I don't worry about it at all. All right. So let's grab a couple more colors, and I am going to speed it up, and I'm going to stitch the rest of these, and then I'll show you adding the heart. Okay, so that does take a little bit longer switching the colors, but I like it. So again, here's kind of the original. There it is with color. We're going to take this little teeny tiny heart and we're going to basically just be tacking it down. If you're using a standard, like I'm going to say a DMC, this is some white DMC. The color's 3865 in case there's several different whites, like there's B5200 or this 3865, whatever, and really you could change all your colors. If you want to do your color to coordinate with the die cut, I actually did that with last year's. I'll pull that one back in and show you. I'm taking 2 strands of floss. I like 2 a little bit better than 1 for all of the tacking. So basically at this point, that's what we're going to be doing, is tacking down our die cuts. So I have my 2 strands. I could have, honestly, I probably should have done the loop method, but I didn't, so we're going to do it this way. I'll show you the loop method next because I know I'm going to have to switch. I'll need more. Always need lots of floss here. Okay, so I've got my floss on my needle, threaded, and I wanted to show you the original compared to this year's. And this is what I didn't like. I just did these long stitches and it made it kind of funny. I'm tacking it down, which works better, but I used purple and teal and yellow and red and pink and yellow floss. I did all white on this one, which is what I'm going to do this year. It is a little bit simpler, but that is an option as well. I am all about giving you options to inspire your creativity. Okay, so we are going to take our little heart and basically we're just going to hold it in place. I want it on the 0. I've already knotted my floss and I'm going to tack it down in about 3 places. So I'm coming from the back and I'm going to take a tiny little bite out of my die cut and we're going to do about 2 stitches on this side and 1 on the other. And you guys, that's it to tack this down. We do need to add the cuff. I'm going to thread another needle. You don't need to do that, but for the sake of demo, I am going to do it today. And I am going to show you tacking down, tacking our cuff down to the back so that our back is ready to go. And then we're going to move on to the front. So there are my 3 little stitches. I am going to go ahead and make a little knot in the back and cut this off. So I'm just going through a few little stitches and then I'm going to leave a little loop and we're just going to come through that and pull a little knot. That should be good. You can go through it twice if you want to for a little more security. Okay, let me thread a needle with some floss and I'll be right back. Okay, looking at the back of our stocking, I really only need to tack this down because all around this edge here is where we're going to stitch the front and the back of our mitten together. So I am going to just hold that in place and I am going to come up from the back of my mitten through this hole and we're just holding it where it goes. And I am going to come down in between each of these scallops, like that. So let me do a couple and then I will speed it up. This is going to be the same for the front and the back. Maybe I'll just do this whole one and then we'll do the one on the front too. I am using 3 strands of floss. I wanted it to be, I think even in the sample, I may have used more, but threading these needles can kind of be a pill. Again, if you want a little bit more of a bolder statement, you could stitch with crochet thread, what I used for the numbers. And I have a whole video, a live I did last year that I'm linking again in the description and down at the end of this video, where I really show you, I don't like that at all. I stitched that wrong. Where I show some other examples using this mitten. So this is obviously very colorful. This is more what I would consider a craft room or even a child ornament. For me, this is one I put in my craft room. It's something like all my crafty friends. It would be a great gift for a crafty friend. If you're looking for something unique and handmade, I would suggest something like this. But I also have ideas for like poinsettias and traditional colors and things that might be a little bit more, there we go, I missed that hole completely. That would be a little bit more maybe for your regular tree. And I do have an ornament from last year that I made that is on my downstairs tree. It was all in neutrals and greens, and it's really, really pretty. Then I did some grays, gray mittens, like gray and white with red poinsettias, so very traditional. You can the sky is the limit. You could do these in anything. Maybe you decorate in blues and purples. Wouldn't blues and purples and snowflakes be pretty? Just lots of fun ideas. So I am going to just keep stitching through the stitching hole coming up from the back of the back side of the mitten, but then I am tacking it down in between each scallop. There are other ways to stitch this. You could stitch straight across. I just personally like this little decorative edge. And all of the little die cut holes that are popping out, you can take a lint roller or some tape and pick those up later. I tend to not worry about them too much. Okay, that looks good. So the rest of this is going to be stitched when we stitch the front and the back together. I am going to go ahead and come, oops, and knot this, and then we're going to move on to the front of our ornament. The part we've been waiting for with all of the fun rainbows. Okay, so I went ahead and just tacked the front one on as well. And it's probably a good idea because this does help with a kind of a guideline of where you want your sunshine to go. I want mine pretty high up here, and I also want it over towards the thumb on the mitten. And what we're going to do is we are going to be tacking it down. So what I did is I've knotted my thread, and when I run out I will show you the other technique. I'm holding it in place, and I am going to go in between each ray and do a little tacking stitch. So we're just doing that, and then let me shift that just a tiny bit. Then I am going to go down each sun ray and probably tack it down a couple of times. It's probably overkill. This is definitely the hardest part. I've got to take these needles out. There we go. I want to show you why I chose to do this. So see all of the tacking? It's a lot, but it stays nice. Last year's, the rays did not. They're all wonky. You have to straighten them out. You could maybe put some fusible interfacing on the back of your felt. I didn't even think of that. And then die cut it and then fuse it in place. I may try that someday, but not today. But it's wonky. So I promise that even though this is a little bit more time consuming, it's worth it. So I basically went, 2 to 3 stitches per side. So like if this one, I'm going to do 3 stitches on the right side. When I come back around, I'm going to do 2, maybe in between these. So let me just do that and show you. I'm coming up right next to my die cut shape. So now I'm coming to the other side, and we're just going to do a couple of little stitches here. And this is where, let's say you just want to do a round circle, Sun, it's going to be a lot easier to tack down than this one. I just really think this one's cute. So I've got 3 on that side and 2 on the left. And then I'm going to come in between the 2 rays and tack the center down. So right next to the center, do a little tacking stitch. I call it tacking. That's not the technical term, you guys. And then we're going to stitch the ray down. I'm going to do a couple of these, and then I will speed up the video. I want to do it all on camera, but I do want to not have us sitting here all day. We have things to do, crafts to make, right everyone? So for this little short ray, I think I'm only going to do 3, 2 on one side and 1 on the other. It doesn't have to be the same on every one of them. Oh, whoops. See how these just, and you want to gently, because if you pull, it will tear. Ask me how I know. I had to rip one out. And then we're just going to go here in the center and tack it down. And then probably do about 3 and 2 on this one as well. And there is nothing wrong with either way. This is just one of those projects where I encourage you to kind of look in your stash. We all have a lot of craft dies, and find a way to make something, you know, your own. It is really fun to find new purposes for things that we maybe already have. And my stitches may not all be perfect. That last one definitely wasn't. And that's okay. I almost like it. I want it to have that handmade touch to it. And then right next to the sun, and tack it down. Don't be afraid to move your mitten and your project to make it work for you. All right, guys, I am going to speed up the video now, and I will be right back to start our rainbow rays. Okay, our sunshine is all stitched, and something I completely forgot and I should have mentioned, you wouldn't have to tack the whole thing down. Part of it is hidden back behind the rainbow, so if you kind of know where your rainbow is going to go, you could not stitch that down if you don't want to. Obviously, I kind of forgot, and I did. It looks really cute. Look at this. When I touch it, it's not going all over the place. So it's worth tacking it down because look, you touch these, and obviously I probably wouldn't touch them that rough, but anyway. Now, with this project, again, because I don't care, that my back is going to look nice, it's going to be inside of an ornament, I'm not going to worry about it. So what we want to do, and let me just pull this guy in. What we want to do is figure out where our rainbow is going to go. And it is going to hang off the side. We want it to hang off the side. I think it's going to go right about there. I'm going to leave it intact, and I'm going to leave it long. And we are going to start tacking down our rainbow. Now, because these are individual rays, they can be a little bit fussy. And you just want it to be as natural as possible. I'm going to spend the majority of my time basically getting this to lay nice. Now, if the ends don't super line up, we're hiding them with clouds. So we're good. Because I ended kind of close over here, I am going to go ahead and we're just going to come up and we are going to do a running stitch through the center of our rainbow rays. So we're going to just kind of come up and down. I do try to evenly space it, and I think that the die cut stitching line in these rainbows does help. I'm just holding it gently in my hand, stitching it down. Up and down, creating this really cute rainbow. The stitching detail makes it. Now, I did mention a minute ago, if you are comfortable with fusible interfacing, you could just try ironing it down. I don't really iron my felt, but I think if you didn't use steam in your iron, you might be able to do that. You also could glue it if you feel more comfortable using a fabric glue like the Aleene's, I think that's how you say it, fabric glue. I'm not a huge fan of gluing. If at all possible with felt, I do try to stitch it. Sometimes with teeny tiny pieces, I will hot glue. And I did a video tutorial here not too long ago, and there were a few tiny pieces that I hot glued. And it's kind of just whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm trying to keep my stitches as uniform as possible, but I try not to get too worked up about it. Like that one's a little long. That's okay. I only will redo it if it's super bad. And we're just going to continue this. I'm going to do a couple of them in real time, and then I will speed it up to add the rest of them, and then we'll add our clouds. Okay, as we get close to the edge, I kind of leave that because we are going to add clouds. We're going to take our next ray, which this one's going to be pink. I think the color Strawberry from Tailored Expressions. I can't really remember what exact colors I used. I don't have the packaging anymore. I've taken the packaging out of everything, off of everything. And then we're going to just switch over here to our pink. And we're going to do the same thing. Just kind of butt it right up next to there. The benefit of felt is it's very forgiving. And we're able to you know, manipulate it and move it where we need it to go. And we're just going to do a running stitch right in the center of this one. You could tack them together. The way I am only showing you what I do. There are a lot of different ways I'm sure that you could do this. If you love decorative stitches, I think that you could really, you know, do some fun things there. You could maybe even tack them together or zigzag or anything. I love this rainbow though, because you can die cut each of the rays individually, and I think that that is the best thing ever. And then the stitching line really does help. Uh-oh, got a little knot. There we go. And the little stitching detail adds to that handmade look. So as we come to the end of our second rainbow ray, I'm getting to the end of this strand of floss, so I'm going to switch floss, and I'm going to show you the loop method, and then I will speed up the video to stitch the rest of these down in place. And I'm just going to flip it over. Just take a little bite of the felt in the back. Go through my loop twice and pull that taut to get a knot and trim it away. Loop method really fast, and then I'm going to stitch quicker. You're going to take one length of floss, one strand of floss. You're going to take the two ends and bring them together. Like that. And it's folded in half, so the other end has a loop. You're going to take those two ends and your needle, and you are going to thread them through your needle. Well, maybe. Like that. So the loop is down here at the end. Coming from the back of our project, so let me grab the yellow. And I'm just going to start down here at one end of my ray. And I don't want to pull all the way tight. We're going to leave our loop there at the back. See that? And we're going to come through. So we've made our first little stitch on the front. We're going to take our needle and we're going to go through that loop. And that is going to secure it to our project. So that's the loop method, way easier than a knot. If you're using, because it's going to give you basically, even though it's one strand of floss, you fold it in half, which makes it two strands. It's very popular in cross stitch. But I figure it works here too. Okay, you guys, I'm going to speed this up and add the rest of our rainbow rays. Okay, we have our rays in place. I am just going to snip off this excess. And honestly, you can just kind of go in here. It's okay. It doesn't matter if it's not super tidy, because we're going to hide it. All right. We want to hide all of those ends anyway. So I just snip those away. That's why I don't stitch clear to the edge. Okay, so now we're going to add our clouds. And again, part of them are going to be cut off. You can see that here. So I'm going to kind of lay them out first. Like, I think that looks pretty good. And I think that looks pretty good. Actually, that looks great. So we're going to do basically the same tacking down that we did before. And I'm going to avoid where we're going to be stitching the mitten together, because that really doesn't matter. Let's just move that one out of the way for a minute. And I'm going to do like I've done one on, oops. Well, I think I got a little knot. I don't know what I did. There we go. I'm going to tack one of these down, and then I will speed up the other one. So we're just going to go all the way around this perimeter, and I'm just trying to evenly space them and hide those kind of icky ends of our rainbow. Plus it just finishes off our scene. What's really going to finish off our scene is the cute little heart we're going to add. You know how I feel about adding hearts. We add them to everything. And when you're going through so many layers, it's nice to have a good sharpened needle. These are relatively inexpensive from a craft store. And they're thicker than like a cross stitch needle, so they're not going to bend. with going through thick fabric like this, like felt is. I feel like I should have tacked down. I'm going to just, if you see things that you're not super happy with, you can always kind of fix it. I'm just going to tack down my rainbow. The end, I think I quit a little bit early. There we go. And this should be good. Oops. All right, we're going to flip it over and tie it off, and then I'm going to go ahead and add the other one. Okay, we're going to snip this off and we're going to tack the heart down. And I'm going to go ahead and just do that real quick, and then we will sew on the buttons and I will show you how to finish. Okay, so the last thing we need to add before we sew the front and the back together are our buttons. And in this, I actually used embroidery floss, but because I have these fun colors of my crochet thread still on here, I'm actually going to do this, or on my needles. I'm going to use, I think, the yellow and the lavender. I'm going to make it so my raw ends are lined up. So it's basically, we're going to be doubling up our string, our crochet thread, to go through our button, so we only go through one time. And I want to make sure that I'm avoiding the little stitching lines here along the edge. And we're going to come up from the back. I'm putting both of mine up here near the cuff. And we're going to leave a really long tail, and we're going to go down. Oh, I like that contrast a lot, that contrast color. So when we have that, whoops, we're going to flip it over and we're simply just going to knot it to tie that off. And this is a great way to kind of use up some of that extra crochet thread as well. So there's that one. We're going to do the same thing with our blue button. These are Doodlebug buttons from many years ago. I still have loads of them. They were my favorite. I love them. So we're going to just put our little bit smaller, I like a little bit like 2 different colors of buttons. We're going to put our other one and we're going to do the same thing. we are going to come up through the back, whoops, not drop our button. Oh, I want it closer. Let's try again. If you like them tied to the front, you could always just reverse this and tie it to the front. Oh, that was really loud. I didn't realize my notifications were on. Okay, we're going to pull it through. And I didn't leave as long of a tail, but I think that'll be okay. And we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to knot it here on the back. Just like that. We're going to snip up our ends, snippity snip. Okay. We have our front, we have our back, and what we want to grab is our ribbon. And what I'm going to do, I did not leave I probably would have used a longer length of ribbon normally, but I did not. So what we're going to do, just to prep this so it's ready to go, we're going to fold it in half and we're going to create a knot in the end. If you're using twine, it's a lot easier. I wanted to use this yellow ribbon and I should have left a longer length, but I didn't, so, you know, we're going to make it work. We're going to knot it just like that. That really is honestly long enough. I think I left it way too long of an end for my other one. But the reason we're knotting it is I have found that this works really good. When you're stitching, that knot, you don't have to worry about stitching this into it. The knot is going to hold here on the other side of your stitching and it won't pull through. So it's going to look a little bit like that. You could also put it over here if you want it to hang more like that. I might do that today. Do you think that'd be cute? Anyway, so let me grab my floss and we will start stitching it together. Okay, I am going to use several, I think this is either 5 or 6 strands of embroidery floss because I want this stitch line to be a lot thicker, chunkier. Crochet thread would be great here as well. I also have some polyester fiber fill. I'll show you that in a minute. We are not ready for that step. I'm also going to put my little ribbon hanger we just made, ornament hanger, over to the side, and I'm going to line these up, back to back. And I think I am going to start in this area here. So we're actually going to secure our ribbon hanger here in pretty quickly, so we're going to keep it handy. And I am going to, I've already knotted my embroidery floss. I'm actually going to split the layers like so and come up in between, and I'm going to catch my knot. And I'm just going to tuck it down inside or in between those 2 layers, just like that. You could, at this point, do a blanket stitch, but I am going to show you the easiest way, which is just a back stitch, basically. And at this point, you're going to want to check the front and the back quite a bit to make sure that you're getting it lined up. So I'm going to start stitching here and I'm going to stitch this way around, and then I'm going to leave a little opening right here where I can stuff it before we go around. So we're going to just kind of go up and down, which is going to leave us with this every other look, but we're going to fix that. And I am going to talk through real time and then I will speed up a little bit until we get to the stuffing and then the very last finishing. But I want to show how I put the ribbon hanger or twine hanger. We're using ribbon today, but I use twine a lot. Fawn Lawn Trimmings twine is my favorite. And I'm just constantly double checking so that I'm stitching in the right holes here. And I'm not just kind of going rogue and stitching all willy-nilly. Those are some technical terms. Okay. Ugh. Hold on to your needle there, Nicole. All right. So I'm going to do maybe one more, and then we're going to slip our ribbon in here. This technique really works the absolute best with twine, which is hard to catch. Ribbon is a lot easier to catch with your needle and your thread. So you wouldn't have to do this, but I really kind of like it. That extra little security of that knot and knowing it's not going anywhere is what I love. So when I'm kind of close to the middle here, I'm going to open up my ornament. Oh, I've got some hair. Let's not stitch my hair into the project. And I'm going to push that knot. I'm going to push it pretty far down here. In fact, we're going to put it kind of in between these two stitches, okay? Do we want to do it there or do we want to do it there? Let me do one more stitch. Hold on. As I'm reevaluating this. All right. We're going to slip that right here in between where these two stitches are going to go. And I'm going to push it down pretty far. It'll be fine. We're going to just kind of sandwich it in, and we're going to hold it while we move that ribbon out of the way. Because I really didn't want to stitch through this time. You could. It will get stitched through at some point, I'm sure. Yeah, here we go. Because I wanted to show you how it pulls. Okay, so I've stitched on the other side of it. Well, it did not work. Hold on. All right. So we're just going to kind of hold it there, and we're going to keep stitching. Just keep stitching. And I think it'll be okay for a minute. It will be secured here when we come back around. All the way secure. Oh, there's a knot. And it really is easier to stitch off camera. I'm really holding this far away from me. Okay, so I'm going to continue stitching until we get to right about here, and then I will show you how to loft and stuff with polyester fiberfill. Okay, I almost went too far. I was just stitching away. I'm going to take some polyester fiberfill and I'm just going to do this. This is called lofting. This is so you don't get any crazy lumps or bumps in your stuffed piece. And I like to just kind of go back and forth in my fingers a little bit. And you're going to take a little bit of it. You're going to open up your ornament and you are going to stuff this. And I'm just gently, because we have not completely secured around the edges yet, remember. And this is not my rule for stuffing most things, but for felt pieces and felt ornaments it is. I try not to overstuff. I find that it starts poking out the seams, and I just don't want it to be super, super puffy. Don't forget the thumb. I feel like I kind of forgot the thumb on one of mine. So I'm going to stick that down to give the thumb some nice shape. In fact, I'm probably going to try to stick some in there. And then I'm going to need a little bit more. So even when you pull some out and you think, oh, that's way, way too much, you generally need more than what you think. If you just pull it out of the bag and stuff it in there, it will have some crazy lumps. This lofting really makes it lay lots nicer, and it only takes a second. And we're just going to push that in, like to this furthest corner up here. I also don't use any tools like a chopstick or a filling stick or whatever with the felt, because it's just not as sturdy as like fabric would be. And I don't want to put a hole in my project. So I just use my fingers and kind of gently tuck it in and try to tuck it into all the little nooks and crannies. And then when I kind of think that I have it like I want it, I really think this is actually pretty good, I'm just going to kind of push it around a little bit. I feel like right here needs just a tiny bit. That looks great. Okay, we're going to continue stitching. So I'm going to kind of pull it up, and now that it's full, it's going to be just a little trickier, but we haven't left a ton open. We only have that tiny like little inch and a quarter opening, maybe inch and a half opening maybe. But we're just going to keep going. All right, I feel like I maybe messed up something. Let me pull this out real quick, real careful. I think just this last stitch. And of course I have to rethread my needle. That wasn't too bad. All right, let me look at this. And make sure these are lining up. Oh, they are. All right. I maybe overstuffed it, but we're gonna give it a go. Look how cute the numbers are on the back now that it's full. Okay, we are back to where we started, but we started in between. So what I'm going to do is come up through here. And it is secure now, but we've only done every other one, and we want it to be like this. So we're going to reverse direction, and we're going to go back and go up and down, up and down, up and down, all the way around, filling in all of those gaps. And I would highly recommend cutting a really long length of embroidery floss. I did not, so I will have to knot mine, hide the knot, and cut another length and restart, which I often have to do, and it is possible. But if you start with a really long length of floss, it really is nice because you can just do this in one continuous stitching motion and just knot it once. But it's fine. It doesn't always work out. Now, where we have our little embellishments and all of our little scene, it's kind of a guessing game. I just try to make sure that where I can see, like on the back, that I'm going through the right hole. But on the front, we're just going to have to double check and kind of position it and work our way around. So let me keep stitching and get some more floss. I'm going to stitch as much as I can. I will show you how I hide that knot too when we get to the back. And it will be the same if you have to cut more than one length of embroidery floss to stitch this. So let me speed up the video a little bit. Okay, I kind of didn't talk through that. I just wove it through my seam when I was tying that off. And then I pulled it through the back and just pulled it tight and snipped it so the end is hidden in here. But I went back and forth through the seam a couple of times. You'll have saw me do that in the video. You can see once you have gone all the way around, this is secure. It will tell you that I did cut out of the video that before it was secure, I pulled it out. So what I did was I had to use some tweezers, almost like forceps, to hold this open and shove it back down inside. But now it's nice and secure and looks super cute. Here is the back with that cute little 2022. And our little rainbow mitten ornament is all finished. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please drop me a comment down below. All of the supplies that I can are linked below, and I've mentioned several places for felt and things in that video. Definitely take advantage of the memory box sale at Simon Says Stamp that is going on right now. The supplies used in today's video are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and we'll see you again next time. Bye!